guys? We're back on the Next Fix podcast here with what I can tell is a badass individual. We were just talking about that before we hit record, right? She's outstanding from what I know thus far. Her name is Britt Sandoval. I'd like to welcome her here to the show, to the Next Fix. Britt, how are you doing?
I'm so good. Thanks so much for having me.
Right. So we haven't spoken too much, but in the very brief conversations we've had, I feel like I'm getting hit with awesomeness, and that's an outstanding thing, and it's so impressive to hear what you have going on. But it wasn't always like that, am I right?
Oh yeah, no, definitely not.
Right. So typically, what we like to do on this show is we like to do a bit of prying. We kind of want to know, what addiction and maybe substance abuse looks like, or how it's affected your life, or what it looks like. How did it impact Britt's story? So if you want to just let us know what that looks like for you.
Yeah. So for it all to really kind of make sense, I have to take it all the way back to the beginning. I was born to teen parents here in the United States, which anybody knows that has ever had kids in the United States, or has lived in poverty or not the best circumstances, that our nation is not set up for individuals to succeed when you're coming from those circumstances. So I was kind of born into an adversity straight from the get-go. My parents were, like I said, very young. My mom was only 17 once I was born, and they were forced to get married very young, and overall it just wasn't a healthy situation. My parents,
what part of the country is this in?
We're from New Mexico originally.
Oh, right on. Southwest.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So my dad joined the military pretty much as soon as they found out that my mom was pregnant, because what else do you do when you're 18, have no other skills, and need a foundation? And so we moved around quite a bit growing up. My parents got divorced pretty young, and then my mom did what everybody told her needed to do, and she needed to find a man to help make sure she could raise her kids in the best possible house, right? Everybody touts all of these statistics of single parenting or single mothers and their children being more at risk for all of these things. But ultimately, honestly, my mom searching for a man is what led me into some of the darkest parts of my life. My mom was in and out of some pretty abusive relationships. I experienced a lot of domestic violence and some sexual abuse as a child because of these experiences and different men that were kind of in and out of my life at different periods. And as I got older with very little coping skills and a lot of trauma, I started to self-medicate pretty young, around the age of like 13 and 14. It started with marijuana at first, which I am now a big cannabis user and proponent, and do not believe it was a gateway drug. It was actually me getting caught with marijuana and my mom taking away that as a medication source that then launched me into kind of an addiction with pharmaceuticals. And so was big on pills, big on anti-anxiety stuff, but also played with much harder things.
So nonetheless, you were trying to cope.
Yeah.
And any means possible, right? So you're grasping at things, and cannabis was deemed, obviously, it was taken away from you. And so, but you're still desperate, right? So you're coping, and now pharmaceuticals, you lean into that because that's what's available. It's what's around, correct?
Yeah. And honestly, it was interesting because I was also battling an eating disorder at this time and was seeking a lot of therapy and things like that. And these pharmaceutical medications were just so easily handed to me. It was wild how I could just get pills of Xanax, and because I was having anxiety attacks, and they would just write them out. And as a 14, 15-year-old kid who had access to these medications. And then by that time, my mom had gone back to school. We were living in a much nicer part of town. I had a lot access to much more expensive medications and drugs. And honestly,
so Britt,
living, yeah.
sorry to keep interrupting you. I got so many questions. So how many, like, this obviously it sounds copious, right? It sounds like a lot. So like how many different pills are now available to you legally, if you will, right? Like the prescribed, like your medicine, right? How many are we looking at here? Like,
Well, I was on at least like antidepressants slash like antipsychotics at the time. And so I was easily on those. Xanax was a big one that was given to me a lot, but I was then also taking like oxycodones and things like that because I was having a lot of physical symptoms in addition to all of the mental and emotional stuff I was going on. And I was starving my body. And so I was in a ton of pain. So it was just.
What year was this? What year was this?
If I was 14 and 15, like 2006.
Right. And this is like the heyday of Xanax, opiates. Like you show up to the doctor and they're like, oh,
benzos were a big one too. All the benzodiazepines. Yep. And so it was easy access. And then of course, when opiates are hard to find, heroin's a little easier to find. And so, it just kind of easily spiraled from there. And so I ended up dropping out of high school in the 10th grade. I was 85, 90 pounds at 16 years old. I still have permanent heart damage from all of the stuff I put my body through at that point because I was developing and literally starving my body. And all of the drugs were doing a number on my heart and my liver. And so it was a really, really tough time.
Right. And I can, I'm somewhat in a similar boat because I'm diabetic. And people are always like, well, oh, you're type 2, oh, you're type 1. And I'm like, well, the reality is I did so many pills and I drank so much booze, I like damaged my pancreas. So like traditional diagnosis doesn't really work for what I've done because it's I went about it a different way. And so, but nonetheless, the permanent damage is here. And this is all by what age again? Sorry if you already mentioned. This is where are we at now?
I was in the worst throes of addiction around 15, 16. But I started around medicating around 13, 14.
Yeah, right. And so the permanent damage was done by like what age do you imagine?
Honestly, probably around 16, 17, because that's when my eating disorder started to get really bad. And that was a huge part of the pills itself are a problem, primarily liver, pancreas, all of that. But the starving my body of the nutrients for as long as I did is what did a large number of issues.
Right. So, okay, now the eating disorder, you're approaching 20 years old. Are you still living at home?
Yeah, so around 16, 17, I had dropped out of high school and my mom was kind of like at her wit's end with me, didn't really know what to do and was afraid I was going to die, which I had multiple friends die very young because of heroin was a big issue where I was at. So she reached out to a friend and they actually took me to a random church camp and dropped me off in the middle of the woods 3 hours out of town without my phone with a bunch of random people I'd never met before. And they were like, only God can save you at this point. So it was awful. I was very, very sick because I was detoxing and also in the middle of the woods with a bunch of people I didn't know, trying to pretend like I wasn't super sick and not feeling well. But honestly, when you're in the middle of the woods and there's loud music and everybody's having you write down all the things you're struggling with and like burning them, it's actually like really healing. And that was kind of a big turning point for me where I was like, I'm going to get my life together and it doesn't have to look like this forever.
Wow.
And
I did not see that coming.
I know.
Did not see that coming. It sounded horrific, but the silver lining nonetheless, right? So.
Yeah, definitely. So at that point, I had met a couple mentors in the church who were older that had kind of gotten out of the throes of addiction in their late teens. And I had a really good support system and got through therapy and really kind of turned my life around. My spouse and I started dating right around that point, and he was a big supporter for me because he was somebody that I never had to hide what I was going through, or like the difficult things I was feeling. Like going out to a restaurant after you've been battling an eating disorder is really triggering, and people don't realize, like, eating in front of people, being served food that like you didn't prepare and that like you didn't get to arrange on the plate to look a certain way. That's all really triggering and when you are recovering from an eating disorder. And so then I was able to go into those experiences, and he was like a support for me instead of kind of like demeaning me, which a lot of people would be like, why do you have to eat that way? Why do you pick your food that way? And I'm like, I can't, like, I don't have control over it. And at this point, it's what I need to do if I want to eat. So like, you're just going to have to get over it. And so that was the game changer for me. I got sober, and I got an endometriosis diagnosis, which really kind of helped explain a lot of the chronic pain that I had been going through. But also was then told that if I didn't have children very soon, that I probably would never have the opportunity, because my endometriosis was pretty severe. And this was at 20 years old that I got this diagnosis. So my husband and I changed our whole plans. We decided to get married really quickly, and we decided to have kids really quickly. And so I had to stay sober and be sober and take care of my body and teach myself to eat, not only for myself, but for the baby I was carrying. And it really was a big shifting point for me.
As you know, we were saying, what we were talking about before we started recording, and it's like I'm new to this. I just had my first child about a month ago, and so of course sobriety was a topic, and like how we're going to deal with this. But I really I love that you shifted gears quite efficiently into like, okay, it's not just me anymore. There's this other person inside me. I have got to get nutrients, not just for myself. So you doubled down on your sobriety. Am I right? Like you're like, okay, it was a priority before, but now it's like it's everything now. Right, right. And wow, you went relentlessly into marriage, children. And so you shared with me, but share with everybody how many kids are we looking at these days?
So now I have 4. I had 3 biological kiddos. So my oldest is 10, and then I have a 6-year-old and a almost 5-year-old. And then our youngest is 3.5, but he's actually not biologically ours. We started fostering about 3 years ago. I had cousins that grew up in foster care and had seen a lot of the abuse that they had went through in the system. And my family was never at a place to be able to help them because we were struggling ourselves. And so that was my goal when I got to a point where I knew I could provide for others and share that light with others, that's what I wanted to do. And so we started fostering 3 years ago. We've had 16 kids in the home in and out. We've had them for as short as a couple days to our youngest son, who's 3.5, has been with us for almost 2 years, and we'll be finalizing his adoption in the next month. So very excited.
That's fantastic. So how old is he? Sorry.
3.5.
3.5. 3.5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what are their ages again?
10, 6, almost 5, and 3.5.
Wow. Man, that's a full house. And where are you living at now? What part of the country?
Yeah, we're in Oklahoma City.
Oklahoma City, okay.
Yeah.
Man, so, all right. So because this question has been in my mind relevant to my scenario or my circumstances, recent circumstances. So how do you think you're going to approach the same concerns that the same circumstances that you had went through, right? What does that look like for your children when they are offered drugs, alcohol, they're staring down the barrel of eating disorders, body dysmorphia, all of these very troubling and very realistic concerns? What's your plan of attack, if you will, or your approach? What do you think you're going to do about this?
Well, honestly, this is kind of what has kind of launched me into my speaking career in my book that I'm writing. And my podcast, I host a podcast called The Odd Mom Pod. And so
The Odd Mom Pod.
Yeah.
The Odd Mom Pod. The Odd Mom Pod. All right. Yeah.
So that's a parenting podcast, and every week I interview parenting professionals who are breaking the mold or having to reparent themselves or having to learn new coping skills because we weren't taught them going into parenting. So I just released episode 18 on Friday, so yesterday.
Nice.
And it's been amazing, but that's where I've kind of had to get completely to the root of myself and had to relearn to connect, because being a parent when you didn't have great parental support or a good, a good set of tools for like adulthood, that you were like prepared to be able to cope or handle your feelings. And because of my growing up experience and my addiction, being as young as I was, that when I was thrown into marriage and children and this experience, I absolutely had no clue who I was. And I was picking up pieces of myself based on what other people's expectations were of me and not who I was, because I had caused so much trouble for so many people in my life that I just wanted to finally be able to take care of myself and prove that I could do it. And in doing that, I really had to shut down a lot of my feelings and emotions, because my feelings and emotions were very triggering for me and made me want to use, because that's a very comfortable place for me to go back to, and it's very comfortable and easy for me to numb them. And as you're parenting and your children do get older and you're starting to have these conversations, when your 6-year-old comes in and is talking about how their friend called them fat at school, and I'm like, you're 6, and it instantly is triggering to me where I've been. And so honestly, how I have gotten to where I've gotten is I've had to completely learn how to not only be aware of those parts of myself, I've had to relearn to connect to how to feel my feelings, how to name them, and then also tracing them back to the original triggering event in my life that made that so triggering for me. And it's taken years of work, a lot of meditation, a lot of yoga, a lot of work on myself, a lot of writing down very horrifying things and connecting them to emotions now, how very small things in my daily life here now are triggering because of something that happened to me as a child. And I've had to take those parts of me and really accept those parts of myself, take away the blame of those things happening to me. It's easy when things happen to try and want to understand why somebody did that to you, or why they made that choice, or why they didn't take an action when they had the opportunity. But you're never going to get to a place of acceptance if we can stop placing blame and look at people's actions and how they impact us instead of trying to understand why. And so it was just a lot of internal deep work and reparenting, and having to reconnect. And I'm still doing it every day. It's still a process. And that's why I started my podcast, because I was like, I want to know more what's out there, and I want to learn more tools and different perspectives of life. And that's kind of where I've gotten it.
I love that, because it's from what I've seen, a very good, very low-hanging fruit as far as the metaphor goes. You're on the plane, and they say if the plane's going to crash, you got to put your oxygen mask on first. We've heard this, but it's the truth. And then so without the work on yourself, you can't necessarily bequeath that to the children, right? You can't really get that over to them. And that's I feel that I'm in the same scenario that you are, that because I have been doing the work, and it's been a blessing that I did get to work on that, so I can kind of break those, the generational bond to substances that my family has kind of dealt with. Now I have that, right? So there's no hypocrisy, and there's no real do as I say, not as I do, and I think that that's kind of where I came from. But I agree with you wholeheartedly that it's like if you're not doing the work yourself ahead of time, then when that child comes to you, you stand a very good chance of being a hypocrite, or just saying, oh, well, yeah, you're not supposed to do that. And it's like, well, I see you do this, Mom. I see you do this, Dad. So who are you? And even if they're not doing all of that math, if you will, at the time, you can only get away with that facade for so long, right? Like you can only say, this is how you should behave if you're doing the opposite, right? They're going to figure it out. And so you coming out on the other end of really tough scenarios, one, it gives you a massive understanding. Like you had mentioned, the 6-year-old comes home, so-and-so called me fat. Now this happens all the time in children's lives. You've felt it and you've dealt with it the wrong way, right? And so now you're able to come at it with a lot of authority, right? And I think that's going to show through for your children. And then also, like the second prong to that is that you are the example of what happens when you come out the other end. So you made the wrong choices, and so you understand that, but you're also the proof of what happens when you start making the right choices. And I think that's just it's just such an outstanding blessing, and so impressive, right? So your children, they're now approaching middle school. The 10-year-old's about to be in middle school.
Yeah, she'll be 5th grade next year, so I have one more year before we get launched into the real world.
Right. Man, I think that's so tell us more about the book. What's now we've got the Odd Mom podcast, right? And then so the book, what's the approach, or what's that all about? We want to know more about that.
Yeah, so right now I'm still working on getting a publisher lined up. So the book will still be kind of far down the road, and I'm actually working on the same concept but releasing it in 3 different ways. But it's all actually based on what my keynote is about. So my keynote speech, when I speak to audiences, I go into corporations and talk on various different subjects, but essentially it's all about how we can unlock our own abundance and take control of our happiness. And so in my keynote speech, I talk about having an abundance-focused mindset. When we think about abundance, a lot of times people think of having everything that you could ever want. And in reality, when we look at the definition of abundance is actually having everything that you could need. And in order for us to be able to truly unlock abundance, we have to be able to identify those needs. And so I came up with the 4 A's of unlocking abundance, and that's kind of what my framework goes down. The first A is awareness. So obviously self-awareness is very important, and studies show it brings a lot of benefits. But actually, if we look at the flip side of self-awareness studies, a lot of people who are self-aware are actually higher risk for depression, anxiety, and relapse of addiction. Because as we become more self-aware, we're more likely to feel those emotions. If we're not accepting or able to cope with those, it can actually be detrimental to our mental health and our recovery journey. And so the second A is acceptance. And so we have to meet that awareness with that acceptance. And I had kind of talked about that a little bit before, but that's where I really kind of delved in the importance of looking at impact of others' actions versus understanding others' actions. And how once we get to accepting those parts of ourselves, learning to say, I can feel this and it's going to hurt and it's going to feel bad, but it's also going to end, because we often don't allow ourselves to actually process emotions, so they last much longer than they should. So we learn to accept ourselves, and also that then extends to others. When you're able to give that grace to other people, say, I don't know why you made the choices that you did. I don't. But I also don't understand your circumstance, your experience, and every human experience is 100% unprecedented. There's never been one person with your genetic makeup and your history and your genetic ties and your exact circumstance where you are with your experiences.
I love that. I love that. That's so good. The uniqueness of our triumphs and trials. It's like, I love it.
Every day is unprecedented. And so we take, when we can accept that we're going to make mistakes and accept that we're not going to be perfect, and we accept that we have dark, deep parts of us, allows us then to align ourselves, which is the third A, which is where we can kind of take our awareness and our acceptance of ourselves and start to look at our habits and our recurrent reactions. But then we can also start to shift those reactions. And then we can, even though we will never be able to take control of our circumstance, we can always take control of our reaction. And then the fourth A is, once you're able to align yourself and take control of those actions, you can live in true authentic action and live in authenticity. And that's the goal. And once you've lived in authenticity and you know what that feels like, and you will never want to live outside of that. You just won't. And so essentially the books, I have a parenting version I'm coming out with. It'll be along the lines of reparenting yourself. And so it'll be the same framework, but with tips and tats of parenting advice, things that I've learned. I'm gonna try and get some other authors that I've gotten to talk with on the podcast to bring in some tips. And then I'm releasing a non-parenting version, which will be for pretty much anybody who's just wanting to get to the root of relearning themselves and connecting. And then my big goal is to release a teen workbook version and get it into shelters and group homes and things like that for kids who don't have a model of self-connection. So that way they can learn those tools before they come into adulthood, and a lot of kids who are in foster care are a lot more at risk for addiction and ending up in the jail system and ending up homeless. And so, I think if we can improve our communities at those who are most vulnerable, we improve the world. And so essentially that's what I would love to do.
So Britt, well, listen, that is, again, when I first started, I said it was badass. This is what I'm talking about. Now, everybody understands now. Like, you keep doing that to me. You keep getting me with like a little bit more badass stuff, and that is truly badass. And I have like a little. It happens to be an A word. It wasn't planned that way, but all this seems very applicable. It's like this stuff is real life, and I love this phrase, boots to ground. I like to say boots to ground. Like this is stuff. It's like, let's start making some steps. Let's start going. And these, from what I'm hearing, these are all real life. This is stuff you can act on now. Another A word. Sorry, it's not.
Yeah, no, I love the A's. I'm all about it.
So
the abundance.
Right. And I just, that kind of work is so impressive. It's so good, and you are right. There's when people have the odds stacked against them. My mom was 17, much like your mom was, which is so young. And my particular situation, I was actually raised by my grandparents, but it was stacked against her. And so therefore things were kind of stacked against me. And the children in the foster system, man, they've got a tough hand dealt to them. That is certain. And so the kind of work that you're out there doing is so noble and so impressive. And man, as being a new parent and a new father, I told you earlier that I feel like I'm drinking from a fire hose.
It is.
I feel, and you had mentioned it's like being, when you first start and your first child, it seems like you're in another dimension.
Months. Yeah, you're literally yeeted into another dimension, and you're like, then the upside down. You're like, what the hell is this? Everything looks the same, but nothing is the same.
Right. And it's like, I was just in control. I swear, I just had a good grip on my life, and but it's a glorious thing to have these fresh slates, and then even more noble when you don't necessarily have a fresh slate and you adopt somebody Again, I love the work. I love the framework. I love the 4 A's of the book. I think that it's a stellar way to approach it. And so, I think that that's the best way for us to, again, make a real difference, is to have something our brains can really wrap around, and then so it can actually make a difference. And so, all right, well, hey, I want you to reiterate where everybody should find you, and what's the best best places to find you. And again, I'm gonna put all this information in the show notes, and then have this available for everybody on the Facebook page and everything. So yeah, just give us a rundown of what to expect.
Yeah, and one thing I just want to say as a veteran parent to a new parent is never be afraid to apologize to your kids. You are going to fuck them up. You are going to. You are not a perfect human. You're going to struggle. You're gonna struggle with addiction, and you can always reach out to me if you ever need it. I encountered some health issues after my kids and being in the hospital and having access to medications again. It's really, really difficult. My first thing is know where your resources are. And if anyone ever wants to reach out to me because they're struggling, please do. But don't be afraid to apologize. And it's okay to show your kids that you're struggling. That's the other thing too, when you kind of asked me about how do I approach that? I am honest with my kids that I'm struggling, and that I'm not perfect, and that I'm going to mess up, but it also gives them space to do the same and be safe and learn how to do that in their childhood before they're launched into the real world. So
I think that they're gonna appreciate the transparency. My wife was asking if I'm gonna let them know about, because I have a book as well. It's called Man Up, Sober Up, and it's part memoir, and the stories are there. And I think that she was questioning whether or not I would let them see this or know about it. And I said 100% that those stories are there. I have nothing to hide. It's nothing to necessarily be proud of, but I have nothing to hide. And I think the transparency that you embody, I plan to embody that same transparency. And I think it's going to be useful. It may hurt in the short run to hear stories about their mom or dad that aren't glorious. But I think in the long run, it's going to be really powerful and very useful, especially when they are encountering tough situations, right?
Well, and you have to remember that when we struggle with addiction, and this is something that our brain has literally been formed to do, and our body is literally physically carrying scars, we pass those things on to our children. When we look at genetic links and things like that, our children are going to be at higher risk to struggle with addiction. They are going to be. No matter what we do, no matter what we say, that is going to be an option for them. And I think if we can be open and honest and explain addiction, but also when you say it's not something to be proud of, it is something you should be proud of, because you've overcame it and you got out of it, and you can speak to that. And you should be very proud of that, because it's something that you're working on every day, something I'm working on every day, and it will be something that we will forever struggle with. And so when we're not open with our kids who are at higher risk for addiction because we're afraid of opening their eyes to addiction, we're opening their eyes and teaching them how to navigate that. And when we start connecting to ourselves, explaining that to them, we can teach those tools. And then when they go into adulthood, they may be higher risk, but we're also giving them so many more other coping mechanisms that we were never given. And so we have to come at it from that way. And so be transparent, be open, live in your authentic self. And that includes those deep, dark parts of me. And that is okay. But we have to be open with our kids.
Right. I think it's the best plan. Yeah.
With that, if you are kind of in that parenting thing, that's where I will plug myself. Come hang out with us at the Odd Mom Pod. Every week we are interviewing different people on various topics, different age ranges. I did an interview with somebody who talks to helps women connect with babies who passed in the womb, all the way to I've done an episode just last week. We talked about preteens and teens, and we talked about cell phone use and all kinds of things. So there's something for everybody. But a lot of it is what I like to focus on is all of my guests' growing up experience and maybe what that they had kind of gone through or what they have kind of changed about their lives to impact their kids' lives. And it's just a really empowered place to be. We have a Discord as well if anybody wants to come and chat and be with like-minded parents for advice and things like that. So please come over. You can find me for speaking engagement at brittsandoval.com. My website is theoddmompod.com, or there is a link if you go to brittsandoval.com. It'll take you over as well. And then I'm on Instagram and LinkedIn and all of the things, so find me wherever.
Right. And like I said, I'm gonna have those resources available. And I just thank you so much, Britt. Like, this has been really cool, and I didn't foresee a good amount of growth on my end as a parent. Like I feel like I've gotten a good amount of value from you, if not a new hero as far as a parent goes. I do truly look up to you from what you've shared with me. I think that I have a nice person on a pedestal, rightfully so, and so I appreciate that. That's it's been quite the blessing to have you here. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and tie things up here on the Next Fix podcast. Thank you everyone for showing up, and we'll see you next time.